Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I'm Josh Hallman.
And today we are chatting with my dear friend, Anna Halligan, executive director of scripted series at Legendary, and my executive on Tomb Raider, The Legend of Lara Croft. And just all-around awesome person. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so honored to be here.
It's going to be really, really fun. I basically get to hound you with questions that we talk about off the podcast, on the podcast, and I'm really excited because a lot of writers don't get to sit down with executives and have personal relationships with them and get any insight into what their job is like, which makes our jobs more difficult. So a lot of this is just like, hey, how can we do our jobs better? Like, what can we look out for?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for everybody to find out what an executive does, including my parents when I send this to them.
Honestly, that's the biggest win. We can somehow get through to them.
Yeah. They're going to be like, wow, that sounds hard. Or maybe like, wow, that's a job.
Wow.
It can go kind of both ways.
Still don't understand why you're doing that. I mean, I get the job now, I just don't get why you're doing it.
Yeah.
You have a really interesting origin story, and we always like to start with guests of like how the hell you found this business, because it's such a bizarre place to wind up. And most people don't realize it's a business. So tell us kind of your journey into getting into the film business and then becoming an executive.
Yeah. I grew up in the suburbs here in Westlake Village. My parents are artists, performers. My dad's an actor. My mom was an actress and a dancer. So we were a very artsy household. And I grew up doing ballet. I was very, very intensely into ballet. That was career plan one. Went to ballet boarding school. Yeah, it was, I don't know, the Olympics are on. It's like the Olympian thing. Like you don't go to regular life.
Wait, it's like Harry Potter, where it's like you just don't do like algebra and stuff. You just like do ballet, just do magic.
You would do like I think the schedule was like it was like 2 academic classes, 2 ballet classes, lunch, 2 academic classes, ballet class rehearsal till homework at night, and then no school on Wednesdays. It was, I mean, except for ballet.
Whoa, nuts.
I do think it's relevant in that it's like an artistic discipline, which I think you actually meet a lot of dancers in Hollywood because I think it kind of like trains you in the same way. And I think you also think about things as like it's an art, but also it's like you're a workhorse. And I think that's great for Hollywood.
Yeah, we've done an episode, and Tasha and I always talk about this in terms of sport being kind of similar to the entertainment industry and definitely the writing world, and creating that discipline and the focus and kind of your mindset and all that stuff. Like there's a very close correlation.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But after kind of that career plan violently died, no, after I stopped doing ballet, I went to college and I studied English and theater, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I had this idea of like Hollywood, like what is that? What are they doing? I went on the Universal Studios backlot tour. I was like, who are the people with walkie-talkies on golf carts? Like, how do I be one of them? I had a couple of internships, and at that time I was like, I think I want to be a writer. I think like I didn't know what the jobs were. I thought executives were business people with who just like did money stuff, and I thought I don't know how to do that. So I thought I wanted to write, and my first job out of college, which was so lucky, was as the writer's PA on Outlander on Stars. And I was there for the first couple of seasons, and that was really like my grad school, my education. I got to be in the writer's room while they were writing story. I got to watch dailies. I got to watch casting tapes, the cuts, and like hear how the showrunner talked about the cuts. And it was really, really educational for me. But I was like, I really want to work in comedy.
What? No way.
I was very much in the improv scene at that time.
Oh, wow.
I usually don't lead with doing improv when I meet people.
Where were you doing all the things? Like I'm not into the improv scene, but were you at all the places?
I was very, very into UCB. I did all the classes, and I had a monthly show there for like 5 years.
What was it called?
Yeah.
It was called, so my team was called Tiny Pizza, and it was called Tiny Pizza Presents Sound Bites. And we would have musicians come and play original music, and then we would do improv inspired by the music.
Incredible.
And it was, like, pretty good. We had Phoebe Bridgers one time.
What?
Like, it was just like a free it was just a free thing that we did, and I don't know. It was a whole era, but then COVID happened and I retired.
Did you imagine that you would become an actor in comedy? Or because I know a lot of, comedy writers are also stand-up comedians, for example. Was, like, that a path that you were thinking about?
I didn't wanna be a performer because I had studied theater in school, and I had kind of figured out that I didn't love it enough to love the lifestyle and the rejection. While ironically, like, now we all face a lot of rejection at all the time, but, at the time, I don't know, it just felt like not the right. I was never so in love with acting or performing. It was more like I got into it because I liked writing and I liked comedy and I liked the community. And I guess, with this monthly show, I was kind of producing the show without realizing I was producing a
Mm.
show. And then I got in a comedy writer's room and I was like, I hate this.
Did you get in from your improv?
Yeah, so I'd been at Outlander, and then, one of my mentors, he's a writer named Ian Roberts. He, is, like, one of the UCB founders, and I had met him because, I had, like, wanted to do improv, and then he, told me about UCB, and then he was show running a show, and then they had an opening, and, like, he brought me over as an assistant, and I just realized, being in the writer's room as an assistant, like the thing that you want is for them to give you a chance to go off and write something. And I realized I didn't want that. And that if they were like, hey, you go write this format, that like I would just have debilitating anxiety and get no sense of fulfillment from it. And I got on the phone with some writer friends of mine and I was like, I know everybody has anxiety, but like, do you get joy from writing?
Mhm.
And they were like, yes. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was different for me. And I remember another friend of mine was like, yeah, if I was stranded on a desert island, like I would still be writing. And I was like, oh, I don't relate to that.
You know what? That's good you recognize that because I think sometimes, you can kind of get in the mindset where you're like, I'm gonna be a writer, I'm gonna be an actor, whatever. And then you become so headstrong that you just don't like listen to yourself and you just keep doing it because you don't want to like be wrong, for lack of a better
Right.
term. So that's good that you recognize that.
And I think a lot of writers too always say, I'm sure you've heard it, people say that, like, I love having written, but I hate writing. And, like, I don't relate to that either. I'm like your friend who would be on a desert island writing just for myself in the sand. I love the act of writing. So there are plenty of writers too who, like, hate it apparently.
Well, I don't think I'd be writing on a desert island. I'd be just blacked out for like the rest
I
of
would be like making pina coladas, like, I
well, yeah,
don't know.
100%.
I'll
Um,
keep us all cultured, guys, while you guys try to survive. I'll just write.
Yeah.
I'd be, like, trying to get some raise. No, but, um, after that, I went and I worked in physical production for a bit, and then around that time, I was a slow learner, you guys. I was like, "Wait, like, what is development? Like, who are these people? Like, what are they doing? Like, who are these people that come in and just are like, 'I have a creative opinion,' and, like, what a cool thing." So I started kind of networking in that direction and, like, finding out more, and I was like, "Maybe I wanna do that," and I called the mentor that had, Ian, who had put me in that comedy room as an assistant, I think after I had been offered a job as a development assistant at Fox, and I called him and I was like, "How do I do this? I feel so bad, like, I can't be a development person," and I was like, "You hate those people." And he he was like, no, like, I don't hate those people, I only hate the bad ones, and you just have to be a good one. So that's just been the goal, to be a good executive.
Did he give you tips on what that meant for him? Like, how he defined a good executive? Or were you able to pick that up in the room from his conversations?
He had a good executive on that show, but I know what it means to me. which is having the focus be on the writer creator's vision and defending that, also like helping shape it into the most sellable, makeable thing, but like without losing the integrity of the writer's vision, which is like what I bought, you know? And if I don't believe in it, then I shouldn't have bought it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna jump ahead slightly, but you're hitting on something that I hear a lot, right? Is that when good executives talk about working with writers and showrunners, they often say this. They say, I want to try to preserve your vision. That's my job. I'm your partner here to preserve your vision, but also to help you get it made properly. And to me as a writer, where I go in my head is like, well, how do I convey that to you in a pitch in the best possible way so that you are excited by my vision, you understand what it is, so that as we're continuing in this process and you buy my script and we start to develop this and now we're into production, that you are on the same track as I am rather than us butting heads. And I feel like vision and an inability of, from a writer's point of view to like articulate that to you can be a big point of struggle. So like in a pitch situation, how do you find writers best portray their vision to you in their pitch, I guess is the question.
Tasha's just jumping into the meat right now,
It's
just
I jumped
Yes,
like
ahead.
right into it.
let's get into it.
Let's go.
I I mean, gosh, I mean, there's the sort of literal answer of like you need to answer all the questions of you need to kind of boil it down to within 25 minutes be telling me like who the characters are, what the story is, like why you're exploring it. I need to understand the tone, I need to understand the world, I need to understand why I care about it. I think, like, the thing that I latch on to the most is the writer's voice, which is easier to get across on the page than in a pitch. But if you have a vision and you have the story you wanna tell, and I get that, like, you have your arms around it and you're confident in it, like, and I believe it, then, like, okay, I wanna dig in and I wanna work with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. But taking us back to the act one of Anna Halligan as a studio executive. So now you've become an assistant. Were you an assistant at Legendary or somewhere else and then moved to Legendary?
Both. I started as an assistant at Fox, and then I came to Legendary, um, 7.5 years ago as an assistant, and then I worked my way up.
Amazing. Now that you are an executive and you are the executive director of scripted series, walk us through a day in the life of Anna Halligan. What is it like typically to be a TV executive?
Let me open my little to-do list. So, basically, I have all these projects that are in different various phases of development, and my job is to, like, push these forward in any way. So on the one hand, one of the things is I need to be identifying new pieces of IP that I need to then try to secure the rights, which means sometimes wooing authors, and sometimes putting together interesting packages with writers and talent to try to woo those authors. Sometimes that means I have a pitch that I'm developing or I'm taking out to market. Sometimes that means there's a script that I am noting. Sometimes we've got something like there's so many things. There's like many, many
Yeah.
spinning plates,
Can I ask how many projects are there on your slate at one time?
like maybe like 30
Yeah,
something.
that's pretty typical of a studio executive, I think.
Which I think is incredibly fascinating. I think this is why when people hear about studio executives, they're like, wait, what? Because like you can have different phases of it's not like you're on the exact same plane with all of these, some one might be a pitch or whatever, like you were just saying. So that's
Right.
amazing though, to be able to put your brain into the space of all these different projects.
And it helps to know as a writer that you're juggling so many things at different stages, whereas we may be juggling this one thing that you're seeing. It just helps to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. I think that Legendary in particular, we love to be a super producerial studio. We're an independent studio. We're very hands-on creatively studio. So some things don't have producers on them. So those things I'm going to be much more active and in the weeds on creatively. And then there are some things that have a lot of EPs on them, and I'm going to be much more hands off. And then how much work a project is at any given time is really just like what era it's in. Like if we're getting ready to go out with a pitch in 2 weeks, like it's all hands on deck. We're doing practice pitches, we're doing last minute notes, but sometimes a writer is off to script on something and I don't have to do anything for, 4 weeks while they work. Um, Yesterday was a lighter day. We had a production meeting as a team where we go through where we are in production on all our shows that are currently shooting. Then we had our business affairs meeting. So we're talking to the lawyers about all the stuff that we're negotiating on. Then I had a new script come in on one of my development projects. So I was doing my like first initial read of that. And then one of my colleagues sent me a script that she read over the weekend that she was like, I think that this is good and that there's something here, but like, want second eyes, like, will you read and talk to me about it? Then I called our marketing team because we're getting ready to go out with a script. And I was like, can we maybe make like a visual deck to accompany it? And then in the evening, I had a meeting with a few of my colleagues about like a open writing assignment that we have and like we're trying to find the right writer for it. And so we went through the list on kind of like who do we want to target to kind of do the sell to those agents about like why their client should look at our, open writing assignment
Mhm.
and maybe do it.
Is that common to have to sell sell your project on to, reps like that in order to get them to pass on the submission?
It depends on what it is, but it kind of the job sort of feels like all selling all the time. And it's interesting because I know obviously it goes both ways. Writers are trying to sell me their projects, and I'm also trying to sell showrunners on why they should do like adapt the piece of IP that I have. I'm trying to sell my boss on why we should throw a lot of money at a book that I read and loved. I'm trying to sell a director or an actor on why to come on board a project, and then I'm trying to sell buyers on like why to buy my projects.
Mhm.
And I'm also trying to sell people on me, which is like I think the part of the job that I didn't know when I went into it, like because this is such a people business and that's what the relentless networking is. It's like here's why you should trust me. Here's why you should want to work with me. Here's why I would be a good creative partner. Why do you want to do it with me? And like, how do I have the best strategy to get your shit made, sold and made.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like you also have the secret sauce where you understand creatives. It sounds like probably better than a lot of other executives because of your background, because of theater and dancing and improv and all these different things. And it takes someone to understand some quirky ass writer who's like, oh, well, I'm thinking about this, and I want to pitch it. And so you can probably manage people a lot better than maybe some others. I'm not going to say who.
That's nice. That's nice. What a nice thing to say. I hope so. I mean, I think like hopefully you go into this job and into this industry like because you love the art and you love the artists and like yes, there's this other part of it that is business and sales and I don't know like I try not to ever lose perspective of the fact that like my job is to read things and think about them and talk about them and like what an immense privilege that is and yeah, I was raised by actors like there's no you can't be too quirky for me, you know? Um, um, and I love it because I love nothing more than when a writer texts me at 5 p.m. and they're like, "Hey, like any chance you can hop on the phone?" And then we end up talking about something for a really long time because I mean that's the best part of the job. Like it's the creative, it's like the digging in, it's the like helping people make their passion project, like helping their thing become real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad, and we're gonna get into that too. I'm gonna put a pin in it instead of jumping ahead this time. We talk a lot about, how writers can meet executives like yourself. So how do you typically end up meeting writers? Is it through samples that were submitted to you, that you really loved, or maybe you didn't love? Because I've definitely met execs who were like, "Fine, I'll meet Tasha," but like I hated her script, which is fine. But at least like I get the meeting and I can like hopefully convince them I'm a good person with it,
Wait,
even though
did
you
your
didn't
reps
like
tell
this
you that?
thing.
Like, how do you know that they didn't like your thing?
Like I've definitely gotten like all passes, but they're like happy to
Oh,
meet you.
oh. Well,
Yeah,
that
like
doesn't mean that they didn't like it. That
Yes,
doesn't
it
mean that
does,
they didn't like
Anna.
it.
I've actually been told like that I was meeting someone because it was basically like a favor because they like knew the agent, my agent or whoever. Like,
Yeah, and I've also been told, like, they don't wanna meet you after reading your script. Like, this is obviously early in my career, but it's all great
Never,
stuff.
never recently. They're
never.
just banging on your door now. Okay, but I mean, first of all, I wish you guys didn't know that. like, personally, I wish that your reps would be like, "Wow, boy, oh boy, are they excited to meet you." But like, no matter what. But also the thing of like passing on a script and then still meeting generally, that means that they liked it. That just means they can't do it. Like, do you know how much stuff I pass on that is very, very good? Like, maybe I shouldn't say that to a bunch of listening writers, but like I pass on stuff all the time that is so good that I would love to make, but maybe there's some reason. It's kind of like dating, like you can go on a first date with somebody and like they're a perfectly wonderful person, but you don't want to go out with them again. There's so much that goes into the decision of whether or not to buy a show that is beyond like whether or not you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important for writers, I think, because we listen. I know Tasha and I have both grappled with this, where if someone passes on something and we're like, I'm the worst writer in the world.
The
My
worst.
stuff sucks,
I should
and
quit.
I'm done. I'm out.
We're
and
out.
it's just like one pass.
Yeah. Also, Anna, by the way, something that you get a lot as a writer is we have something else like it, which I know is a lie. Anna, we
Yeah.
all know it's a lie. I would rather
Yeah.
you say like, "Oh, it wasn't for us because of like XYZ," because then it helps us, I think, grow. I feel like I'm attacking you. I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
attacking other people who
Jesus,
have made this
Tasha.
comment to me.
Let's get into it. I've never said that. No, I've definitely said that. But but sometimes it's true. Yes,
Sure.
it is thrown out there way more often than it is true, but sometimes it is true. And also, I do agree, it is a cheap, easy pass, and it is not like a particularly nice pass.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's true.
Like 10% time though, right? Like
Like,
like
what's the
low.
percentage?
I think it depends on the company, because like if you're a huge company, like why not develop a couple things that compete with other things? Like I don't know, but like we can't do that here because like we don't have a giant slate. So like I can't have like 7 espionage things. I can maybe have 2 espionage things if they're very different tonally. But also yes, like I will acknowledge that if like I got the best espionage thing I've ever read and I have 2 espionage things already, I'm not gonna say, "Oh, but." So, I don't know. I
Yeah.
see it both ways.
Wait, did we? We might have skimmed over this. How do you meet writers? Did we,
Yeah.
did we
Oh,
answer that?
I don't. No,
I try not to.
I avoid it at all costs. No, I mostly meet them through their reps sending me their samples, and then me saying, "Yes, I would like to meet them generally," or they're pitching me something, or they're submitting me a script. I'm passing because we have something too similar, and and saying, "But I would love to meet with them generally." And yeah, it's pretty much always kind of through reps. Like the like kind of other weird ways is like maybe someone doesn't send me something, but it gets on my radar some other way. Like maybe I watched their thing and I loved it and I call them and I'm like, are they available? Do they want to do TV? Like, will they meet with me? Or I'm talking to like a producer friend of mine and they're like, oh, if you're doing that, like, do you know so and so? And I say, like, who's that? And then they slip me their sample and then I call their rep and I'm like, what's
Mhm.
she up to? Like, is she available? And so it's kind of all sorts of ways like that.
Do you ever go to like festivals or I don't know, contests are a big thing even in TV where then at the end if you win there's usually some kind of like gala or party. Have you ever met writers there? Have you ever gone to those even as a younger executive?
I feel like during COVID, there was a lot of that, like watching things online. And then at my company, maybe because we're like a smaller studio, we're not as much in that game. But I feel like when you're like in it's like the networks, like the NBCs and the Foxes and stuff that are doing more of the showcase stuff. And certainly when I worked in comedy, I would go to a ton of comedy shows, but my current job, it's so drama focused that I've kind of gotten out of that a little bit.
All right, so now you've read a script, you've liked it or you've hated it, but you're still willing to meet the writer. And you have a general with writers. Can you talk about your approach to those general meetings? Because we're always very nervous when we go into them and, worried about all these various questions you might ask us. And are we going to say the right thing or sound really stupid? So, what are you actually looking for when you meet writers?
What I'm looking to do at that point, if I have done my homework, which I should have done as a good executive, meaning if I've read your script, then I already have a sense of who you are on the page. And now I want to put a face and a personality to it. And I want to form a connection with you is like the most basic. So it really is, again, kind of like a date. Like what it's not is a job interview. If it is a job interview, then like what I would want the writer to remember is that they're interviewing me too, because they should be thinking like, are you a creative partner that I would want? Would I trust you with my creation? Are you someone I would want to take notes from? But like we're trying to connect. So like I want to get to know who you are as a person. I want to know what you care about. And then I'm gonna be thinking about like how I can work with you in the future. So it kind of like think it also kind of depends on the level. So like Tasha, you're an experienced showrunner. So I am gonna come into a general meeting with you with ideas probably to pitch you. I'm going to be like, oh, we have, we're circling this piece of IP, is this something that would be interesting to you? But like, if you were a baby writer just starting out, like, I can't really bring you IP. So in that case, I'm hoping that you have some ideas to talk to me about, or that like I get a sense of what you like, what you want to do next. Like, if I were staffing a show, what kind of show I would staff you on. And so, kind of just getting a sense of your creative point of view.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? Because a big question I think we always get in generals as writers is, what do you like to work on? What are the kinds of things you like to work on? What is I'm sure it's you sussing out like, how can I pair you with the right project? How can I staff you on the right show? Have you ever gotten an answer to that question that you're like, oh wow, like that's really insightful? Or maybe the better question is like, what is the answer you're looking for when you get that when you ask that question?
Well, that is exactly right. That's what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm gonna take notes and I'm gonna put them in my writer's grid. And it's gonna say soapy domestic thriller, comma, romance with a high concept hook. Like it's gonna say what you are into. Or if you're I would have killed to have worked on The Americans, like that tells me something too. And I'm gonna write like something about that. So it's me trying to get a sense of that. Like I think you can go as specific as you want and I will love it. Like, you can say, "I'm really interested in exploring fisherman culture in the Pacific Northwest,"
Mhm.
and then I'm like, "Cool, okay," like, gonna track that. Um, I don't hear it every day, so I'm
Yeah.
interested. Like, I think that the harder answer is when someone's just sort of like, "Oh, I just kinda wanna do everything."
Yes, we talk about that all the time on this podcast.
'Cause then it's like, I don't know how to help you. I don't know what to send you. I don't know what I would staff you on because, like, I don't know, like, who you really are and what you really want.
That's so funny. We just were texting about this in the sense of like just be great at that thing that you're great at. Like everyone loves a lot of different genres and different movies and different things, but you just have to like master your thing, right? And so this helps for you as well to be able to come in and pitch you and say, "Oh, I like action comedies and this is what I love and this is what I like to do and these are the stories I like to tell."
It's tough because as writers, we similar to actors, it's like we'll just do all of it because we just love it. And especially when we're new, I think like, yeah, I want to do comedy. Yeah, I want to do this. And it takes a while sometimes for writers to realize like, oh, I'm actually like really good at this area of storytelling. And while I like comedy, because I wrote a rom-com when I was coming up, but like I don't write rom-coms and I don't think I should. But I just was trying everything when I was first coming up. So it is helpful to hear from your perspective that that's not a helpful answer for you.
You could always say, like, look, my bread and butter is, like, big commercial action comedy, and yet, like, I've been really interested in exploring a, elevated family drama about like, you can always shape it that way. I'll get it. Or you can talk about, like, kind of thematically what drives you. I respond to really messy, complicated female characters at a moral crossroads, dealing with grief through humor. Like, I get that, and I also get that that can be plugged into all sorts of genres, but, like, that's the point of view, and that's, like, how you approach things, and that's probably how you respond to things. So then when I'm reading, this thing, I think to myself, like, "Oh, so and so wanted something like this," and then, we can kind of put things together that way.
I love that.
I do too. That's freaking beautiful.
That's also one of my lanes, by the way. Messy female characters who deal with trauma through comedy. Yes, more of that.
I just was describing myself. I was like, "What if the show was about me?"
We've also had an interesting conversation, Anna, about the difference between a general with a writer and an actor, which I find very fascinating. And I think the takeaway from that conversation was really about how writers approach generals, which is from a place of fear. Because when we come into those meetings, we're like, these are people who could make or break our careers, or like give us our mortgage payment or rent payment or not. And so there's a lot of pressure in those meetings to really do well, to give you exactly what you want, rather than to kind of be more comfortable and be ourselves. I guess because you also have acted, can you maybe like just kind of talk about that dynamic and kind of what you wish writers knew when they're coming into generals to sort of, I don't know, belay that fear?
I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for all other executives, but, like, I think that when I meet with a writer, I often pick up on maybe them being kind of nervous, and I spend if that's the case, we can spend a decent amount of the general, like, I'm trying to put them at ease, like, I'm trying to show them that, like, despite the fact that I'm wearing a blazer right now, like, I I'm a regular human, like, I wanna make a joke, I wanna, like, drop some F-bombs, like, I wanna connect, because when after we connect, that's when we can, like, have a great conversation, which is what it should be. And yeah, I think that the thing we were saying about actors, is that they don't seem nervous. I'm sure that they are on some level, but, like, they come in and they're so charming, and they're, like, telling stories, and, like, and it's a different dynamic. I think, like, we're both selling each other on something, It's really like, really think about it like a first date. I want you to be comfortable, and I want you to be yourself, and then I want us to form a connection so that we remember each other. That's the whole thing. I mean, that's the same thing with networking too. When you go to a coffee with someone, like, the answer isn't to say, like, "Hey, what shows are you watching?" Like, don't ask me that. I don't care what shows you're watching. You don't care what shows I'm watching. Like, I wanna know who you are as a human being so that I remember you.
So tell them that you like fishermen in the 1960s, whatever the
Yeah, yeah.
But at least you're being authentic that way.
I'm gonna be thinking about that. You know what? Somebody actually told me that they, like, really wanted their, like, fisherman project thing, and it was, like, so long ago, and I think about it all the time because, like, she's the only one that's ever said that, and, like, I want her to make her fisherman thing, like, I would I would love to work on and I'm like, I freaking love that she was like, "Fisherman, like,
Yeah,
that's what's next," and
for
I'm like,
sure.
"I can help you with that, if you'll have me."
Is there like a common thread from all these scripts you're reading and things from writers that you see that make a successful script or a successful writer?
I mean, the answer is, like, obviously yes. because there's a reason why when you're reading something, you're leaning in and you're like, "Oh my god, we're onto something here." I mean, the most important thing, which is such an obnoxious answer, I realize as I'm about to say it, is the writer's voice. Like, that's what kind of can't be necessarily taught. And as I say these things, like, that sounds so hard. And like, the answer is like, yes, like, it is so hard to write something great. That's why I don't do it. No, I'm just um, no, but that's why I have such tremendous respect for writers, because if a script can make me feel something and can surprise me and, 2.5 weeks after reading it, I'm still thinking about it and I'm like, "God, it was so cool how he did this thing, and I completely expected this, but then it went this way because he planted this thing and this interesting stylistic choice that I haven't seen before, and like, what exactly did it mean?" And it's that stuff that is going to get us all talking, and sending it to each other and going like, okay, should we mobilize on this?
I love that.
Can I ask you a very complex question?
Oh boy, yeah.
When you say voice, I think I'm only bringing this up because we talk about it. People will message us about it. When you say a writer's voice, is that through the dialogue? Is that through the exposition? Is that everything? Is it just like how the script jumps off the page? Is there a specific element that you look for?
It's both dialogue and expo, and there's like no one way of doing it. Like it's interesting when you read a script where it's like very minimalist with the action lines, and I'm like, ooh, they're doing something, and that's cool. And then also like I read something recently where a character was described as like, it wasn't this, but it was like, she looks like she does plays mahjong, and then it was like complimentary, like, and it was like in like, and it wasn't that, but I was something like, oh, that's so funny, like, and we'll never see that on screen, but like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I also know like a little bit more about you from like how you describe this character.
Yeah.
And so it's both, because also like, if I'm not reading something considering making it, and I'm just reading it as a sample of your voice or something, like, that's your calling card. So like, put everything in it, put your whole self in it. And something I love, as an executive, like personally me, is like, I'm so into psychology, and so I love like really feeling the psychology of the characters. It's like, I need to understand why a character is making the choices that they're making every step of the way. And so if you can like, as quickly as possible, help me understand their psychology, then like, I'm in and I'm along for the ride.
Mhm. I love that. I'm gonna switch gears a bit, and talk about show running. And you've now loved the script. You're gonna make this show, and for a lot of up and coming writers, which are a big part of who listen to this podcast, but also writers who I think are becoming showrunners for the first time, are listening to this podcast. It's extremely common to hear back that we need to be paired with another showrunner. Can you just walk us through why that choice is being made from a studio perspective? And I think we clearly know that it's because you feel like we're not experienced yet, but can you kind of give us the fuller picture of what you're dealing with on your end to make that choice?
Just because you can write a really good pilot doesn't necessarily mean that you are ready to be what we see as the CEO of a maybe $100 million, several hundred person company. I mean, like, we're handing you so much money. We are hiring 200 plus people, and like, you're in charge. So that's not something that you can do without kind of being trained for it. The hope is like, by pairing you with a showrunner, that you will be learning those skills, so that then next time you can do it, or maybe even season 2 you can do it, but acknowledging that that is a scary thing for us to do, particularly if we're packaging with a supervisor or showrunner before taking things to market, because I still have to sell it to Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, blah, blah, blah. I want to give them the confidence that they can trust that we can get it made and know what we're doing. And it's interesting because, like, why is it intuitive that someone who's so good at writing would also be so good at being a CEO? And, like, there are plenty of people that, like, can do both, but, like, why is that an assumption? Like, why would we assume that, you know?
Yeah. No, it's terrible. And I don't think every writer has that ability, and nor do they want that ability. There's so many writers I know who are like, "Yeah, no, thank you. Like, I don't need to run a company. I'll just like, I guess, work in features if I want my original thing made, right? Because in TV, you pretty much have to be a showrunner in order to like usher your actual original thing into existence. Even if you're paired with a showrunner, oftentimes they will change it in order to get it made properly, or maybe because it's just not the show that they want to make, and they're here now. There's all kinds of things that could happen. But yeah, that's super helpful to hear because oftentimes I think writers can make up reasons in their head of why it's really happening and not realize. And I love your answer too of trying to set us up with a mentorship so that potentially in season 2 and beyond or another show that you guys want to do, we're ready to go. And that's so important. And we talk a lot about that as writers, just mentoring other people and getting that experience on the ground level. Okay. I'm going to get into our kind of last couple questions here. And a big one I think that writers worry about is that conversation you're talking about that you got to have at 5 p.m. when a writer called you and you talked for a couple hours. It is often our first instinct as writers to not call you because we don't want you to know we're struggling with something. Because we're afraid that if you find out we're struggling with something, you're going to lose confidence in us, you're going to lose confidence in the project. And that's a really scary thing. And so we tend to feel isolated because we can't share and partner with someone. Can you kind of walk us through how you feel when writers start to share their struggles with part of the story or want to work something out or need extra time to do something?
I love it. I think, like any relationship, it needs to be built on trust. And so I want the writers that I work with to be able to trust me. You have to judge for yourself if your executives and your partners are people that you feel you can do that with. But my hope is that I personally build the kind of relationship where they can come to me and they can trust me. What I would also say is we're going to figure out that you were struggling because we're gonna see it on the page or hear it in the pitch, or it's gonna take way too long, and then we're gonna end up getting something that isn't really what we talked about before, and we're gonna think to ourselves, like, "Why didn't they come to us?" You know, like, at the end of every notes document that I send, it's like, "I'm around if you wanna talk through any of this." And a lot of people don't take me up on it. And I wish that they would because it's also possible that they're misinterpreting what we're asking for or what we want, and that's sending them off in a direction where they're gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I'm gonna go, "Wait, why did you get rid of all this great stuff? That wasn't the intention." And so I think more communication is often better, but I want to help you, and I want it to be the best thing that it can be. I think talking to your execs is a great idea.
Mhm. I love that.
Yeah, it's refreshing to hear.
I
I
know.
feel like not everyone's like you, Anna, but
I know. That's why she's a
yeah,
treasure.
yeah.
We must protect her.
Well, I mean, also, like, maybe if I don't know, I don't know, maybe if you have, like, a bunch of EPs on the project, they'll probably be pissed at you for calling me and not, like, going around them, you know, like, but so it also, like, depends on the project. But, like, I say, like, if your executives haven't asked you to lunch or to dinner, they probably just are busy and forgot. So suggest it, you know, like, I want to build a relationship with you when we're not working so that you can call me and text me and really like know that that person is like there to be a resource for you and they want you to succeed.
Yeah. It was nice that once we, started having lunches together and hanging out, and you came to Indy's first birthday party, which was lovely, that I could text you and like, "I'm freaking out about this thing, Anna." And Anna be like, "I'm freaking out about it too. Let's talk about it." Like, that's really nice to have. And I agree with Josh. It is hard to find. And I think that is what your mentor was talking about what it's like to be a good executive, where you feel like you have a partner.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah. The final question is I
Oh
don't know why
boy.
I'm building it up like this.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh shit.
It's very general. Like, given your experience with writers who have both succeeded at the job of writing for television and failed at the job for writing for television, what advice would you have for TV writers to just kind of help them find more success in TV?
Oh god. I feel like everything I say is gonna sound cliche. Like, believe in your stuff, be willing to collaborate, but also know when to trust yourself. That comes with time. I think that, like, the most experienced writers that I work with, where I feel like I'm learning stuff from them all the time, I'll give them a note and they listen to me and m maybe like, we talk about it and they do it and they're like, "Thank you," or they listen to me and they think about it and they're like, "Eh, no, I don't wanna do that, and here's why." Um, and I'll go, "Oh, that's interesting. I wasn't seeing it like that. Okay, well, I think the reason why it wasn't landing on me like that is maybe because of this." And they're like, "Oh, so it's actually supposed to be like this. You didn't get that?" And I'm like, "Oh, no." And like, and then or sometimes it's just like, "No, I straight up can't do that because this, and this." And I'll go, "Oh, okay, then never mind." Like,
Mhm.
so it's like you have to be collaborative and you have to listen and trust the process, but also, like, you have to believe in your stuff and you're allowed to say no, and, like, I'm not in charge and I shouldn't be in charge. And but just, like, keep going and keep writing, and I don't know, that's cliche, but
I love it.
Yeah.
yeah, like, if you love it, like, that's what you gotta do.
Yeah.
But a lot of the cliche stuff is accurate a lot of times, and we talk. You touched on a lot of the things we touch on as well, just like the confidence and kind of knowing your story and being able to talk about story and being able to talk about your story without being railroaded by someone else's opinion. And
Yeah, not being defensive, being collaborative and being able to articulate yourself. That can be very hard for writers who are very much like I think on the page and I don't think verbally. That can
yeah,
be tough for writers as well. So it's communication is always I feel like what it always boils down to when it comes to these kinds of relationship is just better communication all around.
Right. It's communication and it's trust. Like, I feel like if we're all on the same page and we all get it and we're all like working towards the same goal, and we can trust that, then we can have all kinds of conversations and we can even argue about things and like it's going to be great. But that's why it's such a relationship driven business, and that's why also people find people they like working with and they work with them again and again and again because it's like there's that trust.
Yeah. Even more than in a lot more than in film, I think, where you could just write it and then just as a writer just go away. Just like so I never have to see you again.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's all I have, Anna. Is there anything that I missed that you have a burning desire to talk about?
I don't think so. I know I went so long, which is
no, it's great.
my way,
No,
but
I
yeah.
loved hearing all of your perspective on things, and it's so incredibly helpful for writers to hear what you're doing on your side of the desk and how you view what we're doing. It's immensely helpful in the writing as well as in the relationship building. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's my absolute pleasure. I do wonder if people will come out of this understanding what I do. I don't think my parents will still quite understand, but, maybe we are one step closer.
I think so too. They'll still be confused that you just like read and have coffees all day. Um,
It's so many sushi lunches, like, it's an astonishing number of sushi lunches.
and that's very hard, mom and dad.
It's hard work, but someone's gotta do it,
Yeah.
you know?
Then I'm going to take us out with the quote of the day. We are all apprentices in a craft where no one ever becomes a master. Ernest Hemingway. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at Act2Writers for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter at Tasha 3.0.
And I am Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram. Anna, are you on social media? Do you want to?
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Do
Nah.
not. Do not.
Okay. Yeah, don't do it.
I have pictures of baked goods and cats on my Instagram, but nothing very helpful.
As always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode is edited by Paul Lundquist.